Welcome back to your Pig Trail Show. Will Monclair alongside Kevin McPherson for another Hog Hoops report. Kevin, big win over Bradley yesterday. What was the final score? The final score was 76-57. A lot of things to break down there. Great night on offense and a great night on defense. What did you see?
I saw a big win for Arkansas. When you look at margin, that doesn't always happen in Central Arkansas. Will North Little Rock's been kind of kryptonite on and off for Razorback teams. 12-10 overall, going back to the Nolan Richardson era. So four coaches before Muss. 12-10 record's not great when you're talking about playing to a big home in-state crowd in the state of Arkansas against a mid-major. Arkansas last year loses to Hofstra in that game in the Central Arkansas game. So Arkansas gets out to an early double-digit lead and really maintains, led by as many as 24 points. You mentioned it, offense, defense. Arkansas shoots 49% from the field. That was its efficiency coming into that game, top 25 of the country when you're talking about field goal percentage. And so the question always is, against teams like a Bradley that likes to keep the score low and keep its opponents down in the 30s shooting, is Arkansas going to take the bait of hoisting up threes and not playing to its strengths? And I thought Arkansas really sought to get downhill, get to the basket, use that length, athleticism, and size, and that positional dominance. When you look at all those factors, Arkansas did that, but it really started defensively before we get, we've talked about the offense a little bit, but before you can really get there, Arkansas began forcing turnovers early in this game. 16 steals overall as part of forcing 27 turnovers. Arkansas only committed 11, so plus 16 there. Arkansas converted that. There was a huge conversion rate. 37 points scored off turnovers compared to 9 for Bradley. That was the whole ball of wax, really. We can talk about everything else. Arkansas dominated those blue-collar hustle plays. When you're getting steals, when you're blocking shots, and you're just out toughing the other team. Arkansas was physical. They were quicker, and they were determined. And I really thought when you go back to the Oklahoma game, Arkansas also, in a game where both teams shot the ball well, Arkansas won all those same things, those loose ball battles, those toughness plays. And so that carries over. So you look back a year ago when Arkansas went 0-2 in that stretch of, Saturday games in Tulsa, in North Little Rock, losing to Oklahoma and Hofstra by a combined 30 points. This year, the script is completely flipped. Plus 29 for Arkansas. You win both by double digits. You beat Oklahoma by 10 after leading by 16. You beat Bradley by 19 after leading by as many as 24. So Arkansas really had a great game in Central Arkansas. And you look at the fans, 16,675. That was announced as the second largest ever for a game in that venue for a basketball game. You have to go back to, I think, 2001 against Oklahoma State. So when you look at everything surrounding this game, not only the result, not only the fans, but I want to talk about some keys. Jordan Walsh, I just talked about how Arkansas flipped the script from a year ago. He's been huge. He was huge in both of these wins. Started off against Oklahoma, 12 points, hit a couple of threes, 40% from distance, really a bunch of scrappy plays on defense, deflection, steals. He gets 4 steals in this game, a career high 18 points. He had his career high at halftime, 16. Now, he did foul out with about 7 minutes left, but perfect shooting, 7 of 7 from the field, 1 of 1 from 3, 3 of 4 at the free throw line. But those 4 steals, getting on the glass, and you see his length at 7'3", 7'4" wingspan on that 6'7" frame, the athleticism, but a toughness. He's got a tough guy mentality when he goes in there and battles. And I think that's been kind of a catalyst. If I had to point to one guy, it's him. When I go back and talk about all these turnover disparities and Arkansas really making those battles, the big battles in the game that turned the tide for him. And so if I had to pick an MVP, I think it's very unusual to talk MVP over a 2-game stretch in mid-December against non-conference opponents. But if I had to pick an MVP in these 2 games, I think Arkansas had to have relative to what happened last year. It's Jordan Walsh for me. Now, Ricky Council and Anthony Black, big games yesterday. They both scored. Council 16, Black had 15. They both checked a lot of other boxes. I think Black with 4 assists, a couple of steals, a couple of blocks, 3 rebounds. Council, a couple of steals, a couple of assists, a couple of rebounds. So those guys do what you expect from them. They average double figures. Council leads the SEC in scoring coming into Saturday, and they do their jobs. You look at some of the other supporting casts. I thought Devo Davis returning home to Central Arkansas, 7 points, leads the team with 7 rebounds, leads the team with 5 steals, and he also helped author that tough guy blue collar blueprint along in concert with Jordan Walsh. I think those were the two main catalysts there. And then Arkansas's front line gets a little bit of an injection from everybody. It's been mostly Makai Mitchell with Trevor Brazile out for the year. We saw Mikkel, his twin, get in. We saw Jalen Graham do some good work. So you saw a little bit of Kamani Johnson doing what he does in his return back to Little Rock. He played 2 years, the Bronx, New York native, played 2 years for the Little Rock Trojans here. So it was kind of a homecoming for him as well. So it was a big day all around. Arkansas gets to 10-1. It's the best start under Musselman. It matches his first and second seasons. But at 10-1, Arkansas is ranked 10th in the country. They may get a bump in the polls. They moved up today to number 18, 4 spots in the NCAA tournament, in NCAA net rankings that'll factor into the NCAA tournament seedings much later in March. But Arkansas took care of business this week in one game this week. We're usually talking about two, only one this time around, but I talked about Oklahoma again because of the significance relative to what happened a season ago, Will.
Yeah, seriously, Jordan Walsh, you can't say enough about the kid. I keep thinking back to that press conference right after TB went down, and it was Anthony Black. He said something along the lines of, Walsh needs to step up. He knows that he needs to step up, and I believe in the kid. And since then, it's just been lights out from the guy. Kevin, it was a great game, but we also got to talk about recruiting. There's a couple offers that are on the table. You've been talking with a couple of them. What are we hearing on the offer front?
5-star guys, man. Class of 2024, recruiting never sleeps. In fact, Arkansas was on its bus ride from Fayetteville to Little Rock on Friday. Apparently, Eric Musselman, like everything else, he's not going to have idle time riding on a bus. So he gets on his phone. He makes a couple of offers. These offers came out while Arkansas was on the road traveling from Fayetteville to Little Rock. So we got 2 5-star players, number 12 nationally. And this young man has been really on Arkansas's radar for a long time. Isaiah Elam, Elohim is the spelling of the last name. An East Coast guy who's now at Sierra Canyon in California. He relocated to the West Coast a few years ago, but he's at Sierra Canyon, already off to a strong start. 6'5" guard, national number 12. So he's a 5-star. He had planned to take an unofficial visit to Arkansas back in October. That fell through. But obviously the recruiting has continued because Arkansas extends that offer. Eric Musselman called him and made that offer. I think within 5 minutes, Isaiah and I were communicating, and he said he was still in shock when I reached out to him. So it was a good thing. And he told me he's 100% was the way he phrased it, planning to still visit Arkansas at some point. So here's a guy now on the West Coast that's, like I said, and at 6'5", he's a big, sturdy guard, very versatile guy. You understand why when you watch his highlights, why he's a top 15 national player. And then another 5-star from Texas, who's now at Montverde Academy, another one of those basketball powerhouses on the independent side, down at Montverde in Florida, is Liam McNeely, a 6'7" wing, one of the premier shooters on the high school level, right around 50% from three. Will. So here's a guy that's not only a sniper, but he's got good craft in his dribble drive game, sets himself up nicely in the mid-range, uses that big frame to get to the basket. And so highly sought after player, just recently took his first official visit with the Indiana Hoosiers, but he told me he was glad to hear from us. He was excited about the offer. These are guys Arkansas coaches have been out to see for months, whether it was bringing summer grassroots basketball. Now that they've been able to go on to campuses on these high school, go to some games, go to practices, but they've been recruited for a while, and the offers finally came down the pike on Friday. Again, Arkansas was on the must bus, I guess we'll call it, just handing out these offers. And then Arkansas also had an offer go out to a class of 2025 talent, another top 25 player, also in California at St. Joseph's High School. But this is a young man, last name Yusufu, who is a 6'5", 6'6" wing, another big perimeter player. Musselman loves those versatile players in that 6'5", 6'6" range that can defend multiple positions. But he picked up an Arkansas offer in the class of 2025. So he had several offers going out this week. Arkansas always stays busy in recruiting, Will. So it didn't surprise me at all. A lot of these players, by the way, right now during the holiday stretch, some of them are out of school, but they've got a lot of games going on. As you know, Razorbacks are kind of slowing down with a week between games and stuff. But a lot of these high school players are busy right now. So Arkansas just kind of hits those pockets just right with getting out to see players, but also getting some offers out.
Yeah, it impresses me how busy these teams are with recruiting and how Muss is always involved. Involved in the middle of the season, I know that we're heading into a bit of that longer gap, like you were just mentioning, but still, the way to be involved is absolutely incredible. Kevin, we always talk pro hogs. I know
Dude.
Jalen Williams had an incredible night earlier this week in the G League. We were talking about it before. He hit his first three there at OKC. What else are you seeing from everybody?
Well, I mean, it was a pro hog party last night in OKC. You're playing the Memphis Grizzlies at full strength. The Grizzlies are the number one team in the Western Conference record wise. They had won 7 straight games. You got Ja Morant, who's the talk of the NBA, one of the younger players, but an MVP candidate. He gets tossed from the game. He's guarding Isaiah Joe, who gets his first start, former Hog, pro Hog, first start in OKC, third of his career, third-year guard. They're guarding each other early. But Isaiah Joe has a career high 23 points, 7 of 12 from the field, 5 of 8 from three, hit some big shots down the stretch when the game got a little tighter. Oklahoma City was playing without its two of its best players, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, its all-star candidate, and Josh Giddey, its lottery pick from a season ago. Those guys were out. Isaiah Joe steps up in a big way, did his damage, 23 points in 26 minutes, 3 rebounds, a steal. But that efficiency from three, he right now ranks 5th in the NBA in three-point field goal percentage at 45.8%. But what a game from Isaiah Joe and a big win. There had been a losing streak for the Thunder. You talk about Grizzlies winning 7 in a row. The Thunder had lost 5 straight. Isaiah Joe steps up in a big way, as does Jalen Williams. You mentioned Jalen playing off the bench. He had a season high 15 minutes, career high 7 points in just his 7th NBA game. Been spending time in that G League. 7 points on 3 of 4 field goal shooting, 1 of 2 from three. So he hits his first NBA three. He also had 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal. You put those numbers together in those 15 minutes, you see the kind of stuff he'd do at Arkansas. I talk about Anthony Black being that guy that checks all those boxes and just stuff a stat sheet, but then you see the impact in the box plus. Jalen Williams was that guy last year on the front line for Arkansas, and he's bringing some of that element to the NBA. So in concert, Isaiah Joe and Jalen Williams combined for 30 points and a lot of other stats, but they were huge in a close game, 115-109. The Grizzlies got knocked off that winning streak, and even though they're still on that perch as the best record in the Western Conference. And then we got to talk about Bobby Portis as well, Will. Here's a guy that's been averaging double-double all season. Last week in 3 games for the Milwaukee Bucks this past week, not only did he average a double-double, he averaged a 20-plus double-double, 22-point average, nearly 11 rebounds per game in these 3 games, 22 points and 14 rebounds on Saturday. And Milwaukee was without Giannis, the Greek freak, its best player, MVP candidate, out with Chris Middleton, one of its all-star players, and they get a big home win over the Utah Jazz. But Bobby leading the way, the game high 22 points with those 14 rebounds. So Bobby Portis, to me, I know there's other sexier names out there in the basketball world for the national guys to focus on as 6th man of the year. It's hands down Bobby Portis. Milwaukee's got one of the best records in the league. He's the only reserve in the NBA averaging a double-double. He's top 10 in the league when you look at rebounds per game. He's shooting over 50% from the field. He's averaging not only career highs in rebounds, averaging 15 and 10 a game, points and rebounds, but he's averaging a career high in assists. And again, Milwaukee's one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the league. I don't think, we're almost a third away through the season. I don't see any way that Bobby Portis shouldn't be in the top 3 or 4 player conversation for 6th man of the year. So when we start looking and talking about pro hogs, what a big Saturday it was for those 3 guys. Really strong week for both. We've got Moses Moody in Golden State, Daniel Gafford and the Washington Wizards in action today. Going to keep an eye on some of those games and results as both of those players continue to contribute as well. I know Moses Moody had a double-digit scoring game early in the week in Golden State's game on the road against a good Indiana Pacers team.
Yeah, Kevin, I think it's starting to get to that point where if Bobby doesn't win that 6-man award, I would be seriously surprised. But Kev, thank you so much as always for spending your Sunday with us. We really appreciate you. We got to go to break. So much more Pig Trail Show coming up.